Civil War, Kansas City clung precariously to the bluffs of the Missouri River. Steep hills rose abruptly from the riverbanks, covered with ramshackled houses, hordes of strangers, saloons, and plenty of mud. By the 1880s, Kansas City was out of control. Unchecked growth created unsightly, cluttered areas of shacks, stores, factories, and meat-packing plants. Sidewalks were boards. Unpaved streets kept the city muddy or dusty, depending on the weather. There were no parks or neighborhood playgrounds. As Kansas City grew, community leaders began to realize that the city's planning was helter-skelter. A coordinated effort was needed to impose order on civic development. One of the beautification effort's strongest supporters was William Rockhill Nelson, publisher of the Kansas City Star newspaper.
Kansas City needs good streets, good sidewalks, good sewers, decent public buildings, better street lights, more fire protection, more efficient police, and many other things.
The Star rallied citizens to the notion that Kansas City could become a place of tree-lined streets, flanked by rows of neat houses with graceful parks lined by boulevards. Nelson's campaign in the Star stated,
"Parks are an indispensable adjunct to a great city."
Parks became thought of as a way to relieve societal ills, using natural landscapes to restore spirits in city-bound people. Nelson maintained,
"Experience in other cities has proved that the management of parks may be best entrusted to an independent board or commission in order to separate it from the complications and contamination of local politics."
In 1881, August Robert Meyer arrived in Kansas City. Born in St. Louis, educated in Zurich and Berlin, Meyer was a vigorous civic leader. He believed that good city planning and beautification were important for growth.
"We have failed to realize that this change imposes entirely new conditions and brings new problems."
Meyer rallied the community leaders to the cause.
Make Kansas City a good place to live.
On March 5, 1892, the first viable park board was appointed. It was comprised of leaders from the business community who wanted to prevent urban sprawl and bring beauty to the growing city. Meyer, the new park board president, realized that although he was a successful businessman with a certain amount of political savvy, he needed help. The park board appointed George Edward Kessler as secretary in 1893. Kessler stressed the human need for beautiful natural scenery and praised Kansas City's charming and beautiful spots. His hard work and determination focused on enhancing subtleties in the terrain, allowing nature to be revealed. This dedicated vision is truly his greatest legacy. Over 30 years, George Kessler led the development of the Parks and Boulevards system as we know it today. The Park Board incorporated his vision into parks for overcrowded tenements and into beautifully appointed boulevards linking the city's growing neighborhoods. His design for the Paseo and the Colonnade blends the natural landscape with classically designed forms. Kessler foresaw growing demands on the city's infrastructure and planned a framework for future commercial expansion. Kansas City's character became an elegant blend of public, business, and residential lands. Designers that followed stressed the balance between preserving natural beauty and expanding the boulevard system into the suburbs. Together, August Meyer and George Kessler created and implemented plans for Kansas City's green spaces. Their successful collaboration is evident in the enduring grace and style of Kansas City, Missouri's Parks and Boulevard system. In producing A City Within a Park, 100 Years of Parks and Boulevards in Kansas City, Missouri, the Board of Parks and Recreation Commissioners and the Prairie Gateway ASLA chapter celebrate the development of Kansas City through the visionary work of Kessler, Meyer, and the planners and landscape architects who followed. A City Within a Park provides an educational opportunity for the public to understand our past. It also provides an opportunity for today's practitioners and students of landscape architecture and planning to appreciate an early exponent of the parks movement. We invite you to discover our unusual and interesting heritage, Kansas City's Parks and Boulevard system.